if the narcissist was honest, the mid-ranger, and the intimate partner primary source. You should know from my work that lesser and mid-range narcissists don't know what they are. They don't know that they need the prime aims of control, of fuel, of character traits and residual benefits. They do not regard themselves as routinely manipulative. Lesser narcissists behave in a way where they have no awareness. Mid-rangers know that they do certain things, but they don't know the genuine reason behind it. They are unaware of many of the things which cause them to act in the way that they do. I am aware of what I am. I've also observed my kind in my family, amongst friends, colleagues, former colleagues, individuals that I've dealt with at large, and of course my continuing experiences advising and guiding people with regard to successful outcomes vis-à-vis the narcissists in their own lives. The combination of my intellect and this expansive experience and my awareness enables me to impart to you so many different facets of the narcissistic dynamic. In this video, I'm going to explain to you how a mid-range narcissist, and this would cover lower mid-range, which is an amalgam of lesser and mid-range but sits within the mid-range school, middle range type A, the overwhelming angel or the anodyne narcissist, middle range type B, the crybaby narcissist who thinks the world is against him and the universe has cursed him, and the haughty, arrogant, often high-achieving upper mid-range narcissist. All of them are unaware that they are narcissists. They share commonalities, but also have differences. But they would essentially share this similar mindset with regard to the intimate partner primary source and the issue of control and fuel. What I'm going to explain to you now is how the mid-range narcissist regards you as the intimate partner primary source if they were actually being completely honest, that they had awareness and they had no difficulty in conveying to you precisely why they do as they do. Of course, no aware narcissist would ever do this because that would mean the transference of power to you and goes against what we require and need. But I explain it to you in this manner to enable you to understand more. Accordingly, I will now talk to you about if the narcissist was honest, the mid-range narcissist and the intimate partner primary source. The intimate partner primary source, of course, is the spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, cohabitee, the person that provides most of the prime aims to the narcissist, the most important person in the fuel matrix in terms of the amount of fuel provided, almost the most important with regard to potency, the most important with regard to frequency, the most important provider of the prime aims, character traits, and somebody who must be absolutely controlled by us. Losing the intimate partner prime source is always problematic for a narcissist, hugely problematic for the lesser, substantially problematic for mid-range narcissists, less so with the greater and the ultra, but still a nuisance. Here is what the mid-range narcissist would say to the intimate partner primary source, were he or she being honest. When you first come into my sights, when you appear between those crosshairs, and I sense your empathic qualities, your adherence to the traits which make you so attractive to me, I am filled with a kind of optimism. I need fuel on a daily basis. This ritual necessitates the acquisition of someone who will be my primary source. And then there are a whole host of secondary and tertiary sources who are drawn from my friends, my family, strangers, colleagues, and so forth. It is a ceaseless task, but it's one that I'm built for, one that I have been designed for, and one which I will always apply myself to. If I did not, I would cease to exist. As a mid-range narcissist, it is necessary for me to conserve my energies. This is because throughout the course of a standard day, I do not know whether my fuel levels will plummet as a consequence of being wounded. I do not know if there will be instances where fuel is not provided as I expected them to be. There may be problems with my fuel matrix. And therefore, my narcissism ensures that I behave in a way where, in effect, I apply the minimum of effort, always ensuring, as far as possible, that my energies are conserved, that there's fuel quite literally in the tank, to ensure that I am not placed in a position of desperation. I operate in a manner whereby the person that I have targeted, I expect that they will be the one who this time will not let me down. When you come into my sights, I believe that I have found the person who will now be my primary source, so that I never have to embark on the devaluation of this person because they have failed in their obligation to provide me with fuel. This time, it will work. Many people may regard me as a prejudicial person, and it is true that I prejudge people, but only ever do so on the basis of the satisfactory evidence as I see it. You see, I look for the necessary traits in how you interact with other people, the things that you say and the things that you do. I watch carefully before I make my move, although of course as a mid-range narcissist I'm not actually aware that I'm doing this. It all happens instinctively. When I see the very things which I cherish and require for the purpose of asserting control over you, gathering fuel from you, from seeing that there are character traits and residual benefits to be obtained, I suppose I experience something akin to what you would call an elation. There's an excitement, an anticipation of the fuel to come. Mostly, it is because of the fuel which I expect to gather from you, that delicious and golden fuel which supercharges me, invigorates me, and provides me with the power to sail through life, charming people, attracting people, drawing them to me, to give me what I need, to give me the prime aims. However, this excitement isn't all based on the anticipation of tasting your fuel. No, a significant part of my anticipation is the response to the fact that you might just be the one. My narcissism compels me to feel this sense of excitement for the purposes of making me do my level best to draw you in. By allowing me to believe that you will be the one, I am therefore motivated to utilize everything in my seductive toolkit to draw you in, to ensnare you, and make you mine. You see, you could well be that person who just does not let me down. You could be the person who finally provides me with such sweet, sweet fuel that I never have to go anywhere else ever again for a primary source. I cannot give up, of course, my supplementary sources, the secondary and tertiary sources, as they are a reserve and a contingency for me when I'm not able to draw my main fuel from you as my primary source. This isn't because I've cast you aside or because you've committed that most treacherous act of escaping me and instigating no contact. No, not at all. The reserve is required because, owing to various factors, I can't be by your side every hour of each and every day, or in some form of contact with you to this extent. So I have to still rely to a degree on secondary and tertiary sources. But as the name suggests, they are inferior to you, as my would-be primary source. I can, of course, interact with those secondary and tertiary sources without cheating on you. This approach means that, much as I delight in your sweet, sweet fuel, I am forced to obtain it elsewhere, and this is from the supplementary sources, the secondary and tertiary. It is you, however, that I still look to for the provision of the prime aims most effectively. It is you that I look to in order to provide me with the largest amount of fuel, and to do so with an almost comforting regularity. I want this fuel, really, from just one source. You seem to think that I revel in the abuse that I dole out when I devalue my primary source victim. But I actually don't. I, as a mid-ranger, don't revel in it. It might look that way, a side effect of the power that courses through me as I drink deep of that negative fuel. But in truth, I'd much rather never have to go down that route. This isn't because I care or because I've got a conscience. It isn't because I would be remorseful for hurting you. No, not at all. I'm unequipped with those things. Quite simply, it would make my life far, far easier. It would make my life far easier if you didn't let me down, if I did find the one. It would mean that I wouldn't have to shift to the manipulations that are dark and devaluing. It would mean that I wouldn't run the risk of losing that individual and bringing about their escape. It means I wouldn't have to go and seek out a replacement. I could just rely on you, and that would actually make my life easier. Unfortunately, you see, although I am better than the lessers, I am not as great as the greaters or the ultra, and therefore my seamless acquisition of fuel is far from guaranteed, although I wish it could be. I would prefer that you actually continue to pump out that positive fuel to such an extent that it always remains satisfactory to me. I really do wish that it would not become stale. I really do wish that you wouldn't falter in its provision in terms of quantity and frequency. I would much prefer that you would be there all of the time, reliable, dependable, and magnificent in the production of your fuel. You would, of course, benefit too. You wouldn't suffer the abuse as devaluation takes place. There wouldn't be any mystifying disengagement. Well, at least mystifying to you, at least. It makes perfect sense to me. I have to get rid of you. You failed me. And then, of course, I wouldn't even have to go to the trouble of bothering my backside to apply various types of hoover in order to try and bring you back to me at a later stage. Imagine avoiding all of that and remaining in the glorious golden period of seduction all of the time. I recognize how much you love that. I've seen it in your eyes. I've heard you speak of it. And of course, I've seen how hard you have fought at times to recover it. You adore and worship the golden period. And I want you to have that. You could have that all of the time. All that you need to do is keep me provided with the fuel at the potency and level that is appropriate and demanded, that you don't work out who I am, that you don't continue to threaten my control over you, that you don't break down, that you ensure that you're better than anybody and everybody else, and then you would never give me any reason to devalue you or disengage you. I'd much rather not do all of those things, but of course I'm forced to in order to survive and to thrive, and when you let me down in those various ways, well, I must devalue you, and invariably I end up disengaging you, because after all, it is your fault. I only wish it were not the case. Perhaps you would try harder. You, this time. Perhaps you are the one. Perhaps this time it will work with you because you're more special than all of the others. The problem is, your kind diminish the frequency of the fuel that you provide me. You become unreliable. You hurt me, and I can't countenance that. This means you have to be hurt in return. There's no hope for any other way. Imagine, though, that you are able to avoid bringing all that horror on yourself because you keep doing what is necessary. You keep giving me my fuel at the prescribed level, and in return, you get to stay in the golden period forever. I would like that to be achieved. And you think that I'm selfish. Not at all. We'd both win. You have the golden period. I have the golden fuel. You stay under control. You don't threaten my control. You don't break down. You don't sense as to what I really am. This is what I look for each time a new target presents itself. And I begin my work motivated by my narcissism to believe that this time it will work, that you are the one. I am filled with an expectation. I'm filled with an optimism, driven by my narcissism that this time, just for once, you will keep on doing what I need, and you will not let me down. No matter how many times this has happened in the past, no matter how many times I have been betrayed and hurt by the treasonable conduct of those who said, so many times that they loved me and they always would, I've always continued to believe in the power and capacity that the next target may just be the one. I'm not a bad person for believing in that. I just want to find the right one for me, just as you do. You want to find a person that you will love for the rest of your life. I want to find the person whose fuel I will love for the rest of my life, who will submit to my control, who will provide me with my prime aims, for it is the prime aims that I love. Surely you can understand and appreciate that. Surely you must accept that my intentions are noble. Surely you understand why I always think that you might be the one. Surely you understand how this time, with you, it will work.